Hey guys, it's BlockchainBrad speaking, and today I wanted to talk to you about the permissioned and permissionless aspect of the blockchain and how that fits in the entire ecosystem and the architecture of blockchain at present. There's so much happening, guys, with the permissioned aspect of blockchain, and I found out some very good information that I thought would be beneficial to anyone who's investing or considering investing or perhaps just wants to understand the space better. So guys, the main focus of the first part of my talk is going to be about the structure of the blockchain economy. So you can see I have some notes. What I'm going to do as part of my talk is I'm going to try and put up on screen, might be over here, I'm not exactly sure. I'm going to put up some of the graphics that I've drawn up today to help you understand what I'm talking about. But of course, write some feedback down in the comments below, and I'll try and answer them as best I can. But the thing I really want to share with you is the way in which the permissioned consortium-based blockchain enterprises are moving and how they're trying to progress and develop the blockchain industry as a whole. It is quite significant what they're doing in terms of manipulating the original decentralized design. So I'm going to try and explain and unpack that as best I can. So firstly, I wanted to explain that in one of the diagrams, which hopefully will be here or somewhere, I've explained that basically consortiums and private enterprises are trying to backmap from the original precepts that underpin the decentralized blockchain network. So what they've done recently, and I found some articles, and they'll either be behind me on the green screen or I'll send a link below. So definitely check out some of those links because they're very current, even some of them were published today. But what I've learned is that there's a plan for the consortiums, that's the alliances, the committees, any private sector who has an investment in blockchain. What they've done is they've come up with an alliance, for want of a better word, known as the Worldwide Decentralized Web, and its acronym is W3C. So you can check that out on Twitter. It's certainly a new platform, but the idea of that is to try and merge pre-existing alliances, committees, and consortiums. So, you know, I've been harping about this before, about the importance of the permissioned, or at the very least understanding the space of the permissioned blockchain. Well, this is every reason to do that, because what they're doing is they're trying to assert a significant position by, in much the same way that a conglomerate would do. They're trying to draw the strengths of all the different smaller enterprises into a larger infrastructure. So that's known as the W3C. There's another foundation that's being established right now, which I've recently learned about, and that's called the Decentralized Identity Foundation. You can also check that out, but that's the next step below, so it's important you know about that. That, again, is the idea of trying to get companies like Hyperledger and the Trusted Internet of Things Alliance, R3, trying to get all of those permissioned blockchain companies to collaborate together and to reinforce their position in the permissioned business sector as the blockchain industry develops. And that's really important, and I found out why. And that is because Microsoft are actually currently designing a specific protocol. And that protocol, based on the Azure component of Microsoft Research, is really significant. Initially, it was part of what was called the Bleachley research, and it could somehow translate permissionless protocols into a permissioned state, so they were trusted. Because that was the big thing for a lot of these companies, that they didn't want to adopt this kind of new technology when it was in its generation phase, because they didn't feel it was trusted enough. So they came up with, via the Microsoft Azure and other ledger protocols, a means in which to do that. So this particular protocol is known as COCO. So if you don't know about it, definitely check it out. That is in many ways a game changer for subsequent endeavors in the private sector. And you'll find a lot of articles about that and to that effect. But essentially what's happening is that Microsoft are promoting the use of that, and that also explains why there's every likelihood that these foundations will form and get stronger. It's why these alliances are getting bigger and becoming a much more powerful super consortium, because COCO has the capacity to enfranchise trust which is exactly what all businesses who are waiting to utilize the technology, that's what they want. So if you consider it from, the ultimate antithesis of what was originally started back when Satoshi designed the decentralized mechanism that was Generation 1 blockchain, now the entire premise from the enterprise perspective at the very least has changed. So guys, that's one thing I wanted to mention is Coco, an absolute game changer, and that's going to definitely affect any kind of investment that people make in the future with regard to blockchain businesses, blockchain tokens, etc. So going from that, just to rehash, it goes from the top down through that World Wide Web structure, down to foundations which are now being formed, then down to consortiums, and we know that there's that portal or modem structure with the Coco protocol. But then there's also other ledgers that you need to know about as well. And those ledgers, typically that's layer 1 of any blockchain design, but they are known as Burrow, Fabric, and they have other names as well, like Corda. Those three are designed by the R3 and the Hyperledger networks, the private enterprise blockchain consortiums. And what they are going to be trying to do is utilize Coco in much the same way so that they can then ensure that their bank of business associates and members can adopt blockchain in a way that they are reassured that it's secure and trusted. Obviously, one of the downsides for the pro-decentral blockchain user is that there's an absolute requisite for full ID, and as you guys know, that's already becoming commonplace with the KYC measures that are already happening for ICO purchases and the like. So that's really important. But why is this so beneficial, and why is it such important news? Well, the reason is that all the research I've done today has made it very clear that all these major companies, as part of this consortium structure, they want to use Ethereum at the moment, and that's going to change and expand to other blockchains. But right now, if you can imagine the magnanimity of this, they want to, from the top down, identify or forge a super consortium, and from that they want to utilize their own protocols, their trust protocols, to then apply that to Neo via the apply that to Ethereum rather via the Ethereum virtual machine, and then from that the output would be obviously through the interchains and the dApp facilities. Now that obviously is going to be through an entirely permissioned state. So everything's going to be based on an open source, decentralized, but permissioned market. But that's coming directly from the top down. So the actual fundamentals of Ethereum don't change. They remain fundamentally a generic permissionless blockchain. However, it's the technologies that the consortiums are using through Ethereum that it becomes what I regard as the permissioned Ethereum. So it's not that suddenly it forks into a different type of blockchain. It doesn't. But what happens is its entire capacity to inculcate and support trust is then established. And that's what's the game changer. The fact that suddenly all these businesses who've been waiting to append onto this trustless blockchain can now know that Ethereum can be trusted. So whilst, from a philosophical standpoint, that may not be good for any society, because essentially what underpins this is an oligopolist system, it's extremely good for investors, because underpinning investment is business. So going from that, obviously it filters down into, sorry, this is my dog, but from there it filters down into the lay investor. What the investor does obviously is they invest their money, purchase the utility or the governance token or whatever it may be, and then from there obviously it builds out. But most importantly, we need to know what's going on from the top down, because the structure has flipped. So if you want to have a look in more detail, I'll try and put it up over here or somewhere on the green screen. And I might stop there and I'll make a part 2. But guys, honestly, it's worth you knowing about it, because I'm going to talk about why that relates to investment in a moment. But until then, guys, it's great talking to you. It's BlockchainBrad, signing off.